big technology censorship. California Congressman, the ranking member of the Intel Committee on the House, Devin Nunes, is filing a $250 million lawsuit against Twitter. He is alleging that Twitter has allowed critics to defame him on the platform. He also says that Twitter engages in shadow banning of conservative opinions, using algorithms to secretly hide posts so nobody sees them. I spoke with Congressman Nunes earlier this month on Sunday Morning Futures. He weighed in on the tech's handling of misinformation. Watch. You're saying you're going to deal with the misinformation out there. How do you deal with that? You've referred to them in the past as tech oligarchs to me.
Yeah, so there's two ways that they're doing it. So the fake news media, they're putting out fake news stories. Sometimes it comes from the Democrats, right? In the dossier, they feed it to the media runs a story. And then the numerous tech companies out there that are really controlling what all Americans see, right? So what these tech companies have become is they try to pretend that they're not, but they're content developers. They're developing content, okay, through two ways. One, algorithms, so they're controlling what you and I see when we get on our device. So for them to say that they're not developing content is nonsense. The other thing that they're doing is they're monetizing this. So there's some people that will not get rewarded. Like if you're a conservative out there putting conservative videos together, you're not going to get money for that, right? People are not going to advertise on that. Right. So all this is, has got to be dealt with, I think, in the future.
And he's dealing with it now with this lawsuit. Joining me right now is Real Clear Politics co-founder and president Tom Bevan. Tom, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being with us.
You bet.
So what are your thoughts here? I mean, my sources say that Devin Nunes is going to be filing suit against 4 other media companies in the coming weeks. Your reaction to what he's doing this morning, suing Twitter for $250 million?
Well, this is the beginning of this debate that we've been having, the legal struggle over questions about free speech and questions about whether these companies are in fact private companies and neutral platforms, or whether they are content publishers. Are they like and should they be treated like public utilities? Is this the new digital town square that some voices are being shut out of? And so I think this is the beginning of a long struggle. As to the particulars of Devin Nunes' case, we'll have to see what the courts think. But I think ultimately we'll see this before the Supreme Court eventually, because it is a question that certainly conservatives have felt that this is something that's been working against them. You don't see this kind of behavior directed toward liberals, is what conservatives will always say. So I think we're at the beginning of a long battle.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there were a lot of things that were taken down. And yet, these 2 accounts with Devin Nunes, one was called Devin Nunes' mother, and they're attacking him. That was never taken down. And it's hard to argue that these companies are not media companies, Tom. I mean, do you see Facebook, Apple, Twitter, at least in part, as media companies, given the fact that so many Americans get their news from social media today? They've become so much more powerful than ever before.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we have seen over the past, 5 years or so, is that these are publishing companies. I mean, they are creating content, massive amounts of content, and a lot of Americans that's how they're getting and consuming their news and information. So in that sense, they've become, and on the business side, from an advertising perspective as well, they've become these sort of behemoths in the marketplace. And that is something that, as I said, as to the Devin Nunes account, I mean, that gets to the question of what's a parody, what's not a parody, where do you draw the free speech lines? But Twitter has been, in fact, just the other day, I think yesterday, Twitter admitted that they mistakenly removed a post from Sean Davis, who's the co-founder of The Federalist. Now, conservatives would call that and Sean Davis would call that a shadow ban, meaning that Twitter is restricting what people can see, what people are seeing in their feeds. And that is a form of censorship.
Maria, I want to illustrate something that's very important in this lawsuit and in the law today. Usually, federal law exempts companies like Twitter from defamation liability at all levels. You have to go back to the 1995 Communications Decency Act that protects Internet service providers. Remember, this is the beginning of really the growth of the Internet. That law protects Internet service providers and website hosts from defamation claims. If you want to sue for defamation, you have to go after the individual, the person making the defamatory remarks. This is critical because when we talk about Twitter and these social media companies being publishers, that changes everything. It changes, it changes whether they can be sued directly for defamation. So Devin Nunes' lawsuit is a test of that. And it'll be interesting to see how other Congress people step up to see if they actually try to change the law. But it changes the entire social media equation as we know it.
Right, which is why I asked Tom, can you really say that these companies are not media companies today, publishers, given the fact that so many people get their news from it? And by the way, the tweet that you referred to, Tom, that Twitter admitted to taking down, that was a passage last week from former FBI attorney Lisa Page and her congressional testimony talking about the FBI's rush to find connections between the Trump campaign and Russia, while at the same time he was writing about the irony that Hillary Clinton's campaign employed former UK spy Christopher Steele, a foreign national, working with Russians to try to get dirt on Donald Trump. So exactly what the Democrats said Donald Trump did, Hillary Clinton was doing. And Sean Davis tweeted about it, and they took it down. And Twitter admits that, yes, we took that down. I want to get to another story because I know you've been working a lot on it, Tom, and that's Boeing. CEO Dennis Muilenburg speaking out on the fatal Ethiopian Airlines crash, reiterating his company's commitment to safety. Listen to this. Got to get your reaction.
Safety is at the core of who we are at Boeing. And ensuring safe and reliable travel on our airplanes is an enduring value and our absolute commitment to everyone. We're united with our airline customers, international regulators, and government authorities in our efforts to support the most recent investigation, understand the facts of what happened, and help prevent future tragedies. We're taking action to fully reassure airlines and their passengers of the safety of the 737 MAX. Soon, we'll release a software update for the 737 MAX that will address concerns discovered in the aftermath of the Lion Air Flight 610 accident.
Tom, your reaction here, Muilenburg had to come out. You needed to hear from Boeing in the face of all of this.
That's right. No, and look, Boeing's trying to get ahead of this, as well they should. I mean, this is it's not an existential crisis. Boeing has had issues like this in the past. But if you look at this platform, this jet, they have over 5,000 of them sold at $100 million to $135 million apiece. It's $500 billion of revenue for Boeing. They've only delivered 370 of them. So there's a lot of work to be done on Boeing's behalf here, and that's what they're trying to do. But obviously, there was a report in the Seattle Times that came out yesterday which suggested that Boeing and the FAA they missed some things in the update of the flight system, and that's something that is going to prompt a whole bunch of lawsuits. And again, this is another one. We're at the beginning of this story, not the end.
All right, Tom. Great to see you this morning. Thanks so much, Tom Bevan. Real Clear Politics there.